Hi everyone. I'm going to try the Easter analogy challenge on video, mainly because I find I can type up an idea very succinctly, but when I talk, it's a little bit of verbal diarrhea. I'm sure some people like that as well, and so I need to just get in the practice of seeing how well I can do this, not with the freedom to stop and think and type, but in the moment, face to face, as it were. So I'm going to try it, and the way I'm actually going to do it, just to give you a picture of what it might look like if I actually pluck up the courage to do this in the city, is I'd be inviting people to sit down and say, this is for Easter. Easter's on next week. Christians believe in the story of Easter and that it's really significant, and it's and so I want to try and explain what Easter's about and what Jesus' mission and his message was about. And that's a challenging thing to do, clearly. And so I want you to make it even more challenging. I want you to give me an item that I have to then turn into an analogy that I work into my explanation of the gospel, or the Christian message, or whatever I say. So I'll be inviting people in to give me these things, to challenge me, to think creatively, think on my feet, but also to take the pressure off that I'm not trying to push the gospel on them, but I'm trying to explain it, and they're there to hear how well I can explain it while using their item as an analogy. So there's something to just sort of take the pressure off or break the ice in the conversation. Anyway, that took me 2 minutes to get to that point. So, this is, so buckle in, grab your popcorn. I've put all the suggestions. I've wanted to, all the suggestions that people have said are great. They're really, really fun, and sometimes really tough. But I want tough ones as well. Because I got, first one was hedgehog. I thought, how am I going to do that? And then lipstick, that was an easier one. But then cauliflower, that really stumped me. So it's really good. These are good sort of practice for me. So I've got a little app that just is, I've put all the ones that people have given me into this little picker. So it's going to spin and choose one, and I'm just going to launch into it. So we'll see how we go. Okay, ready? Okay, and there it is. Heavy metal, and that was from... heavy metal was from, let me see. Oh, I can't even find who gave me heavy metal. I'm wasting your time. Here we go. Jim said heavy metal. Well, do you like to listen to heavy metal? Heavy metal is, there's lots of different styles of heavy metal. The one style of heavy metal I find most fascinating is sort of like death metal, and the what's the ones that where it's like takes a lot of strain on the voice and everything like that. Thrash, that's the other name for it. That sort of heavy metal music. It's clearly loud and bombastic and powerful, it's grab your attention, obviously, but it's not clear. I actually think a lot of people think of God that way. That God, they know, a lot of people I think believe that some sort of God exists out there. That we're not just nothing, that there's some spiritual element to the universe and to life. There's something bigger and greater than us. And they know it's big and powerful. But like that sort of heavy metal music, it's inaudible. It's unclear. Well, I think the good news of the Christian message is that Jesus is actually God coming to us to make God clear. So that God isn't just this big, powerful, noise out there that is sort of blows us away, and we're supposed to somehow try and work out in our own minds. No, he comes to us and he makes sure that we hear him and we see him, and he knows, what, how we can come to be in relationship with him. It's an incredibly powerful, Jesus is an incredibly powerful character, and most people around the world respect Jesus to some degree. All the different religions respond to him. But the powerful thing that Jesus says of himself is that he is the God of the universe. He is the creator of all things, and yet he doesn't remain a distant, just loud force, but he comes and he takes on human flesh. In the Bible it says, that the Word, which is like the power of God, Jesus is that. The Word became flesh and dwelt among us. And so Jesus is God in the flesh. God coming and speaking to us, making God comprehensible to us. And Jesus said, whoever has seen me has seen God, has seen the Father God in heaven. And he also said something very powerful as well. He said that no one comes to God except through him. And he said that because it was only in Jesus. He did something that makes, he didn't just bridge the distance between us and God by becoming a human. He also did something that is very human. He died. And for Christians, Jesus didn't just die like anyone else just died in his, due to an accident or due to old age or something like that. His death had a very specific purpose. Jesus' death, it says, it takes on the sin, bears all the guilt and the shame and the selfishness and the lovelessness that we have that separates us from God. And he takes that upon himself. He bears it, and he bears the punishment for it. And so now the offer of Christianity, the good news that Christianity talks about, is that whoever puts their trust in him not only meets God by seeing Jesus, but also is able to be forgiven by God and come into a relationship with God. And so the message of Christianity is a little bit like, speaks to a world that thinks of God just a bit like heavy metal music. But the joyous good news is that it's not just loud, inaudible, confusing things, that Jesus has made God known. So, yeah. There we go. So that was my attempt with heavy metal music. Thank you. I'm going to try one more. Why not? Okay, ready? Okay, and let's see what it is. Pen. Oh, pen. Okay. Pen. Well, I could go down the same sort of right. Same sort of thing of, the idea of communicating and God communicating through us, and that's a pen. Actually, how about I do this? Have you ever heard the salesman line? Sell me this pen, right? There's a scene, it's a classic scene of the guy who actually is the main character in Wolf of Wall Street. He says, "Sell me this pen," and it's a classic salesman. If you're going for a job as a salesman, you may be asked that question: "Sell me this pen," because the average person just goes, "Oh, this pen is so wonderful," and everything like that. It's a great sort of thing that you can have. It's so gold, it'll last forever and stuff like that. And then in the movie Wolf of Wall Street, which I haven't actually seen, but I know this scene because it's a great salesman scene. And he says, he goes to one of his friends, Leonardo DiCaprio's character, and he says, "You tell me, sell me this pen." And he goes, "All right." He goes, "Write down. Could you write down your name for me?" And he goes, and Leonardo DiCaprio goes, "Well, I haven't got a pen." He goes, "Well, here you go." Right. And what he does is he goes. The point of it is that people need to see their need. Otherwise, you can't sell them anything unless they see their need. And that reminds me a bit of what Jesus does. When Jesus came to earth, he spoke to people about God and being reconciled to God. And you know who the people who flocked to Jesus? It was the people who were outcasts. It was the people who knew that they'd stuffed up in life or knew that they were distant from God. And they came to Jesus in droves, and Jesus welcomed them and talked to them about God and showed them the way that they can be reconciled to God. And you know who the people Jesus was most PO'd about and most angry at? It was actually the religious people of his day. It was the arrogant, self-righteous people who thought they were fine and thought they didn't need God because they were so good. I think actually Australian culture responds a bit to the religious sort of self-righteous people in the same way that Jesus did. We're sort of disgusted by religious people who look down on everyone else and think they're better and are arrogant. And I think Australians just don't like arrogant people in general. We despise tall poppy syndrome. Well, Jesus is someone who I think people. I really encourage people to look at and investigate, because the people who felt most welcome with Jesus was not the religious people who thought they were so good, but it was actually the people who knew they had a need, and it was a bit like that analogy with the pen. That you actually need to know. You need to know your need. You need to know that everything's not right. And I think a lot of people, if they stop and reflect at life, at their own heart, at their own sense of distance from God, that they know that there is a need, they know that that everything isn't right in this life. And Jesus came to speak into that need. And he doesn't offer just a superficial pen. He offers something so much better. Ultimately, he offers himself. The joy of Easter is that Jesus actually gives himself for us. He dies so that he dies in our place and bears our sin, so that God can restore us to him, so that we can have so much more than just a pen. We can have new life, forgiveness, reconciliation, adoption into God's family, and eternal life. And the promise of God's Spirit living with us, changing us, and preparing us for life eternal. So it's huge what Jesus offers, but it's only really for those who know their need. Jesus said that I've not come for those who think they're all healthy, but I've come for the sick. And that's why Jesus hung out with people who knew they were sinners. So if you think you're totally fine with God, or don't have any need with God, then Christianity possibly won't speak much to you. But if you know that in your heart you need change, in your relationship with God there's distance, and that you have done things in your life that you need forgiveness for, well, then Jesus has come for you. And so I encourage you to investigate more about who Jesus is and what he's done. So, cool. All right, so there's me tackling two from the analogy challenge. They were good. They were tricky. My hope is that I'll have these sort of opening conversations. There's so much in that it will go over some people's heads that won't connect. And hopefully, I'll say to people, thanks. And I'll encourage people to think, if they've got questions, that they can ask a follow-up question. And hopefully I'll give people, a chocolate egg and and a hot cross bun. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Please pray for me as I think about it, and I might do some more of these videos. We'll go through the list. You can add more to the list. I'll put it in the randomizer, and I'll take the ones off that we've already done. But yeah, thanks. I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.